Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Dolores Tarver. I'm a licensed psychologist here in Georgia, and it is time for the TT Time with Dr. Tarver. It's a wellness-based podcast. It is not intended to be a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health provider. Welcome to 2026. Hopefully you all had a very restful and productive Christmas and New Year, and you are back re-energized and ready to go. Now, I know a lot of people do not have New Year's resolutions, and I definitely am a proponent of you figuring out when and how you'd like to assess yourself and ensure that you're on track to be doing this good work of the kingdom that you've been called to do. So, today we're going to talk about it, and I'm just going to use a little bit of an analogy because you know I like a good analogy. So, instead of us looking at them like New Year's resolutions, why don't we instead think of ourselves as farmers? Right? So, after we have harvested our crops and our soil is now empty of what we have harvested, it's important for us to examine the soil. And so I know that some of you in your life right now are looking around your garden and you're thinking, how was my yield from last year? Were there things that I wanted to be able to produce and did not? Were there certain things that were interfering with my ability to be able to produce in the way that I wanted to? Did I have the right soil? Did I have the right foundation to be able to yield the type of crops that I wanted to yield? What were some of the things that maybe I said I wanted to plant and never got around to planting? Right, so we want to look at that soil and we want to make sure that we've gotten rid of anything that could be in this new year interfering with our ability to be able to produce in the way that we want to. We want to make sure that our soil is ripe and ready in order to be prepared to plant seeds in. So, what does that look like? We need to identify what our soil can handle. Sometimes we're trying to plant things that we are not able to be intentional. That's the word I think a lot of people are saying for 2026. My word is completion. What are the things that we attempted to plant? And are we actually prepared to be able to water, to take care of, to nurture, to make sure that we're keeping pests out, to be able to ensure it's getting enough nutrients, that it gets enough sunlight. Sometimes we are trying to produce crops, but we haven't done the work, the preparation in order to ensure that we're able to produce in the way that we desire. And I know a lot of times we have lofty goals, which is why some people don't make New Year's resolutions because they failed so many times. So start things and not stop things. This is why 2026 is my completion year. We're completing some things that we've been putting on hold for some time. And I think some of us are in that season as well, is where you're looking around and you're thinking like, hey, I don't do the best job of making sure that I prepare the soil, making sure that I'm planting the right things, making sure that I'm intentional about taking care of them. And so this is the season to really take a look around and see what you are doing to be able to be ready for whatever it is that you want to accomplish in this new year. And sometimes, again, we have to have honest conversations with ourselves about that I may want it, but I'm really not ready for it. So, if I haven't changed any of those habits that I have, the ones that are going to interfere with me being able to be successful, then I'm not going to be able to produce. And I think a lot of times it hurts our feelings and we feel like we're being slighted. But the truth is, we haven't done what we needed to do in order for us to be ready to receive what it is that we say that we want. And so, in this season, too, you want to make sure that you're in that preparation phase, but you're also in that phase of really evaluating what are the things that are interfering with you being able to be productive and what can that soil manage, right? If I'm not doing real good with my boundaries, if I'm not doing good with my fiscal management, if I'm not doing good with my temper and my management of my emotions, I don't have really great healthy coping skills, I'm not taking good care of my health and my wellness, then I'm not going to be able to have what it needs to take in order for me to be able to harvest what I'm producing anyway. And so it's really important that we have that honest conversation. So sometimes you only need to choose the seeds that you're going to nurture. So you may have all kinds of things that you'd like to plant. You want to plant collards and cucumbers and tomatoes and herbs and potatoes and corn, But realistically, are you going to be able to maintain all of those things? And I think when we overextend ourselves, we don't get the greatest yield, right? Because now what's going to happen is because the things that I didn't attend to are not growing, and they're not getting what they need, like they're going to start trying to get from the other nutrients from the other crops that I've been planting, right? And so then we end up being distracted. And I know we've talked a good bit about sometimes how we're trying to balance so many different things that we're not really good at any one of them. They're not succeeding at all, and we're starting and we're stopping. And so we don't want to take that same pattern into 2026 as we're looking at our nice farm out here. So, what we want to do is we want to be mindful about what we're able to manage. And not what you think you can manage, not what you want to be able to manage, but what does the data show that you can manage? So you can pull those receipts from 2025 and 2024 and 2023, and they will show you what your patterns are. And so you may only be able to navigate having one crop. And that's okay because that will allow you to be able to get the skills needed in order for you to maintain that crop and allow it to grow and it be able to yield and produce. Clearly, I'm getting tongue tied here in 2026, probably because I hadn't done a podcast in a minute. But anyway, so that is one of the things that I think is really important for you to navigate as you're taking a look around. As you're evaluating, you're looking out at all this great soil that you've been gifted with, is making sure that you're able to navigate, take care of, manage, hydrate, encourage, nurture, um, tend when the weather gets bad, and you've got a lot of other things that you've got going on. What will your soil be able to handle? And that includes the seeds that you're going to be able to nurture in that soil. The farmers would alternate crops that they would plant because some crops they strip the soil. Right, so the next year you want to plant something that's going to put those nutrients back in the soil. So they're alternating. They're not necessarily utilizing the same crops from year to year. And you'll also see growth, right? Some of the acres of the land they don't touch. They just let it grow up and do its thing, and then they'll come back, right? Allow it to have some time to recover. So sometimes we're in spaces where we're in recovery. You might have experienced some grief. You might have experienced some financial setbacks as we had the government shut down and we're approaching the end of the month, which there could be another one. And so just trying to navigate a lot of things. You might have just made a big purchase, or you may have had some changes in your family, might have been some growth, some things added. There also might have been changes in health. And so, like, remembering, hey, let me take care of myself because I can't tend to the garden if I'm not well, before I choose the seeds that I'm going to plant. Then I will say, identify the things that could potentially interfere with that harvest. Right, so there's going to be some vermin and some weeds, and the weather, as you know, down in the south, it fluctuates. We've been all over the map for the past few weeks, from freezing temperatures to sunshine outside. You would think it was summertime. So there are always going to be factors that could impede growth. And so when we're thinking about what kind of seeds we want to plant, we also have to think about what can interfere with those seeds' growth and development. So if there's going to be a drought, right, if there's going to be some unfavorable conditions or it's going to be a freeze warning, then how am I going to protect these seeds that I planted? If there is a time when the machinery breaks down that I utilize to be able to do some of the tilling, to be able to clear some things away. How am I going to recover when I don't have my go-to machinery to be able to utilize? What happens when other people come along and they say, "Hey, you know what? Come on over here. Like you don't have to worry about that. I got a farm that's flourishing, so you can just have some of my crop. You don't need to worry about tending to your crop." And so oftentimes we are distracted by what other people are doing, and some of us really truly need to take a fast, a break away from social media. I'll probably cover that this month as well. In I say that because oftentimes we're putting so much time into something that's not going to yield a lot of results. We're not on there researching, finding out about things, honing our craft. We're doom scrolling. We're up at night, early in the morning, not being productive, not being well because we don't have a plan that we're following, or we have a plan that we're avoiding, or we're being inconsistent, or we're being easily distracted, we're being taken away. And so these are the things that can interfere with you being able to nurture your garden. So, in addition to people telling you you can't do it, or people encouraging you to do other things, you always have. We were joking in one of my group chats with the girls, and I was like, whatever self I got going on right now, she does not need a cookie. And one of the ladies was like, I'm the cookie monster, my bad. I've been trying to get you to get that cookie. We always have people in our lives who are going to want us to do the fun stuff, who are going to want us to indulge. And I need to be really clear because sometimes we will say, hey, like I need to take care of myself and I need to focus on myself and treat myself with kindness and nurture myself and give myself grace. I do not want that to be confused with you taking a lack of accountability and you taking the easy way out because it's comfortable and convenient. So when you're talking about making decisions to plant, to grow, to nurture, then there has to be some dedication to it. And again, this interferes with us being able to complete things is because we're always giving ourselves opportunities to cheat. Y'all know y'all been in the gym before, and you be like, "Ugh, I'm gonna do 2 reps instead of 5." Right? So I'm tired. I had a stressful night last night. I didn't sleep well. So you cheat yourself. You don't push yourself because it's easy to do that. When sometimes when you have somebody there, like a trainer, they're like, you got 5 more reps in you. Let's go. Everybody tired. I remember one time my basketball coach, I was just coming back from a slip disc and he was like, how you doing? I said, oh, I'm just thirsty, I need some water. He said, well, ain't nothing wrong with you if you need some water. Everybody here needs some water. I'm talking about physically. Is there anything? No, sir. All right, well, keep running. I didn't really care for that comment, but I understood as I got older, right? Like that's not what your body is asking for. You just want that because it's gonna give you a break. But are you physically in discomfort or is there any problems that we need to attend to? No, right? So I just need to build myself up and condition myself so that I can get back to the level that I was prior to the injury. And sometimes we're in those spaces in our lives too as we look at our gardens. It's like, girl, you ain't been tending to this garden in so long. It's overgrown. Stuff in there. What is that? A water bottle that done flew up in there? Where did that come from? Somebody's shoe? Because we have not done what we needed to do because we gave ourselves all these breaks. And in this season, I need for you to hear like you don't need all those breaks. You don't need all of those breaks from doing the things that you've been called to do to tend this garden to make sure that it is prepared for harvest this spring. Okay. I also will say to you, speaking of that basketball coach and the trainer at the gym, it's really important that you consult with other farmers. There are going to be times during this season that you are trying to plant, nurture, and get this garden to yield, this farmland to yield, that you are going to be struggling, right? Whether it's, again, that machinery breaking down, or whether the fertilizer isn't quite doing what you thought it would, it's not yielding the results that you wanted, or those vermin will keep coming on in and you're having a hard time with them. And so you're going to have some consultation, some people to hold you accountable, some people to help you and assist you when that journey gets hard, when that weather starts being unpredictable and you're trying to prepare for, hey, how do I stop these crops from being destroyed, right? And so you're just going to get plugged for therapy, whether it is an examination, an example or real life. So definitely, as we're using this metaphor of this garden, do know that there are expert gardeners. There are people who know a lot about feed. There are people who know about fertilizer. There are people who know about how to get rid of vermin. And so you definitely want to make sure that you're consulting with people in this journey. And when your real life, what that looks like is that might be a pastor, that might be a therapist, that might be a life coach, that might be that personal trainer, that might be a financial provider, that might be a class that you take in order for you to get on top of some of the bad habits. That might be an accountability partner who's like, we're not doing this, that we did this last year. We've done this for the past several years. We're not doing it this year. But I do want you to remember that whoever you choose does not need to be somebody that's going to be telling you, we'll tend to this garden tomorrow. Don't worry about it. You need to take care of yourself. Again, there does need to be some balance, but you don't want to cheat yourself out of what your potential is by giving in to sometimes what our minds will tell us, which is like preserve the self. But preserve the self, i.e., I don't want you to be uncomfortable. Not that you're doing anything that's going to bring harm to you, but just like, girl, you might be a little tired. Let's just rest. Don't worry about that for today. So we need some people that are going to tell us, yeah, you're tired, but you're still capable of doing what you need to do in order to tend to this garden. I will also say to you that it's very important for you to prepare for this harvest. And I think sometimes when I was talking earlier about like we'll want these things, but we're not really prepared to receive them, it's important for you to make sure that you're ready for the things that you're asking for. And oftentimes, what we'll see people, people will utilize the expression fumble the bag, i.e., like I had all of these things, but then I wasn't attentive and I either squandered them, didn't pay attention to them and let them lapse, didn't take care of them, was not consistent, and let opportunities pass me by, or didn't take advantage of things, and so I stalled. Right? So I want you to be really clear about what it is you're trying to harvest so that you can make sure that you're prepared for what it takes, because it's not just about the planning and the tilling, and the nurturing and then being able to receive this harvest. It's that I've got to maintain it after I receive it, because then what? How am I going to maintain the soil? How am I going to ensure that this harvest gets to where it needs to go to, that it continues to grow and expand? Is this harvest something that's a short term thing? I reach it and then it's time for a new harvest, or is it a continuation of things that I may be looking for? So sometimes our goals are short term things, like I want to pay something off, or I want to finish this class, or I want to maybe do better keeping in contact with people, right? And so I do that, and that's, okay. But then there may be some layers and levels to things. And so then I understand that this harvest is one of many. And so there will be multiple things that'll be tied to it. So it may be steps. So step one might have been that you took that financial class to learn how to be an entrepreneur, to learn what are some of the traps that cause people to have credit problems that interfere with them being able to sustain and keep a business afloat. And then there might be the next stage of saving up money to be able to invest into this business. And then there might be the consultation with someone to talk about, okay, what kinds of things would I need to put in place to open the business, the marketing, and is there going to be a brick and mortar, or am I going to do a soft launch with something online? And then there's how am I going to connect with people and grow my brand? Then it might be how am I going to be consistent with my brand? So as you can see, there's a lot of different levels. And I think sometimes why we end up failing to produce the harvest we want is because we have not thought about and prepared for all of those different aspects of it. And so I've done the short term, think about, okay, well, I can reach this thing, but then I haven't thought about longer term. So you always want to make sure that you have ongoing a plan. Again, is this going to be a break year? Am I going to, plant something different? Am I going to take some time and get the farm back together because it's falling apart? I haven't even attended to it in a long time, so I need to do some of that basic work first. Is it going to be that I have 5 steps and this is my timeline for the steps? So I'll be planning, harvesting, planning, harvesting, planning, harvesting until I get through to produce the yield that I want to on all 5 of those steps. And so in that preparation period, one, is very important for you to be clear about who you are. We talked about identity as my last podcast for 2025, because whatever, again, whatever you believe affects how you behave. And so if you don't believe that you're capable of being able to have this wonderful farm and be able to yield the crops that you want, you're not going to. Two, if you don't have a plan in place for you to be able to sustain all of the things that come along with trying to reach a goal, then you're going to fail. Three, if you don't understand what your purpose is, and you're not locked in to that there is no other option other than me reaching this purpose because it's the promise that I have been given, then you're going to waffle and you're going to fall back, start, stop again, right? So then you're not going to be able to be successful. If you are easily swayed, distracted, discouraged, when things happen, because things are going to happen, you're not going to be able to maintain the crops, much less produce a harvest. And then five, I will say to you that if you do not invest intentionally, set the time, set the money, give your talents, then you're definitely not going to be successful. So you got to put that work in. You can't take all those off days. Some of y'all have more off days than you have on days. So it's important for us to be clear about that. If I want it, I got to work for it. That it's not going to be convenient, it's not going to be comfortable, it's not going to be easy, but it is very much attainable for me if I am willing, prepared, have the right consultation, the right foundation in place, and if I have allow myself to be able to choose something that I am going to be able to commit to and see it through to its growth and production. All right, Happy New Year!